Hey, we are at Chaplain Chat. I'm at the Cafe 210, and I am an ADHD chaplain. And I called Rob just real quick. Today's Friday, November 6th or 7th, I don't know.
I think it's the 7th.
It's the 7th, yeah. And I have the author, of the new book, Walking It Out. And there's the book, Walking It Out. And this is Rob's book. Now, Rob wrote the first book I wrote was called Surrender the Way Out. And that was an awesome book. But this is, and I'm going to do something on Chaplain Chat I don't think I've ever done before. We're going to do a series of these. And they make, you have in this book, you have 24 chapters. But we're probably going to do 25 Chaplain Chats on this. Because this is just the intro of this. And Rob, I'm having a blast with this book. This is fantastic. And Rob, on walking it out. Now, how do I do this God thing? This is really cool. In the introduction, you talked about 3 components that have had an impact or whatever on your life. And let me read you the components. I have them here in the book here. One component is putting down life's controlling behaviors. Another component you said that was important for you is walking our days with God as our main companion, ultimate authority over our lives. And number 3, taking a hard, honest look at who we are and why we have lived as we have. So those are the components. All right. So Rob, on the first component, putting down life's controlling behaviors, what were your thoughts on that?
Well, in changing our life, we don't just come to God and surrender to God and He poofs us, and then everything's all beautiful, wonderful, and cool. I surrendered to God at the beginning of a horrendous detox. I was an addict for years, and so there were steps that I had to take to stop my addiction. I had to go through a detox. I had to go through a recovery center just to get my wits about me again. There were some things that I had to do to implement change in my life. And first one was deal with my addiction. Although I had surrendered to God, and I did that just in the initial stages of detox, I still had to do the things that were necessary to stop the addiction.
Okay.
I had to go through the detox. I had to stop running with people that I ran with. I had to change a whole lot of things.
And we're going to get into that as the book goes on.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, the second component, walking our days with God as our main companion, ultimate authority over our life.
Mm-hmm.
No, go ahead. So tell me which. You see, you gave a great illustration in your first book about total surrender.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I'm kind of whetting your taste bud. But you remember the cop situation?
Yeah.
Tell us about that. Or did you have another way you wanted to explain this one? Your call. You're the author. God is our ultimate companion. Shoot straight.
Okay, I'm just trying to follow you.
Yeah. I'm an ADHD. Too much coffee.
I think, first off, we need to come to God and come to God on His terms.
Amen.
And live a surrendered life.
Not my terms.
The thing about walking with God, when I surrendered to God, even though I still had a whole lot of ugliness in front of me, I knew I was going to be okay, and I was at peace. The other thing that happened was that the loneliness that had haunted me for years was gone. I knew I was going to be okay. I felt and experienced God's presence in my life, and I no longer felt alone.
Wow.
The neat thing about walking with God is from the point that we surrender to God, we're no longer navigating life on our own, and we don't have to see God. We don't, you don't see a burning bush. You don't hear trumpets out of heaven, but there's a peace, and there's an assurance in here that God is with you and that everything's going to be okay.
Oh, fantastic.
And the neat thing for me was that even though I didn't have any idea what my future was going to look like, I knew I was going to be okay, and I knew I wasn't alone. And then as far as walking your life out, part of it is knowing that God is with you, but the other thing is giving Him and making Him the authority in your life.
Wow.
Everything that, from that point on, what I did was every decision I made, every choice I made, what would God have me do?
Wow.
And it's walking with God is no more complicated than decision by decision, choice by choice. What would God have me do?
Wow.
And it's only when we walk in obedience where we have fellowship with God and the security of walking with God that only comes from staying on that path of obedience. And that doesn't mean walking perfectly before Him, but it means decision by decision, choice by choice, living the way God would have us live.
Rob, the last component was taking a hard, honest look at who we are and why we lived as we have.
In order for there to be real change, we have to see ourselves as we truly are. I always thought that my addiction, once I got a needle out of my arm and a bottle out of my mouth, everything would be fine, because it seemed like all my trouble, everything that was difficult in my life stemmed from my addiction and the activities that are connected with that. When I got clean and sober, I realized I was a mess. And there were a whole lot more things going on inside of me than just my addiction. I realized how controlled I was by fear. And I always wanted to portray myself and think of myself as a tough guy. I really wasn't, but I felt much more comfortable in that role, but when I got clean, I realized how motivated and controlled I was by fear. And what I mean by that is I was always very insecure as a kid. Insecure in this way. I was afraid of rejection, of not being accepted, of looking stupid. I did very poorly in school and didn't navigate socially very well. Things were good at home, but in school and in that setting, I just didn't navigate well. And so that really set the tone for how I navigated my relationships. And so when I got clean and sober, and to just back up for a second, there's a whole lot of reasons that we start using in the first place. When we get clean and sober, we're left with all those things that made drugs and alcohol such a good idea. And so when we get clean, then those things are still present. And then it's those things that as we recognize them, we take them to God.
This is the book. It's called Walking It Out. Now how do I do this God thing? And this is just the introduction. Chapter 1 is Here I Am Again, and we're going to get into that into another Chaplain Chat. But Rob, if people are interested in connecting with you, and I'm going to put this on the website too, if they want to get the book, how do they connect with you, or how do they get this book? And it's really awesome. There is the book.
Well, the book you can get it wherever books are sold. You can order it on Amazon. You can go to my website, robflammang.com, and there's a link there. You can get both books there. You can ask your local bookseller to order it for you.
Or you can get a hold of me, Chaplain John.
Yeah.
And I'll get a hold of you. This is awesome. And I'm jazzed. This is something brand new we're going to do on Chaplain Chat. I'm gonna have some more interviews with Rob on the book Walking It Out. Now, how do I do this God thing? Rob, all right, this is the first of many. Are you ready for this?
Yeah.
I want to thank you guys for watching. And Rob, I want to thank you for being on
Chaplain Chat.
All right. Woo! And